didn't really plan this through. Let's just hope for the best. If you're with good energy, you know me, right? And good faith, then everything will be okay. So every time I've done a trip, especially when they're spontaneous, I've never had problems. Knock on the wood that I don't have here, knock on wood. But it was also the thrill of the moment of not knowing really what was going to happen. So the recommendations were and are, because they did work for me. If you are going to do a road trip through Mexico, don't. No, I'm kidding. You could totally do it. It's safe, you guys. But do it. You have to drive in the morning. Okay. You must take a lot of coins with you and cash. So it's not like the US where everything is card friendly. You have to take toilet paper with you. And I kind of knew these things before because I've been in road trips in Mexico, but not this long. This was a 2-week road trip of not having planned anything. And my goal of this trip was, well, finding energetical places and seeing if I can get into an indigenous village. Okay, the idea of the shows that I want to start doing is connecting back to our true nature. Connecting back to nature, connecting back to our true selves, to how things used to be. And that was my goal, to see if I could get in, because it's really difficult to get into these communities because they're very close-minded, especially if you're American looking like me. So well, maybe I actually did it on purpose. I let my natural hair grow out, and I'm like, it's gonna be dark because I don't want to try going into a village and people looking at me like with really blonde hair stand out too much. No. So let me just get my little dark Spanish vibe out, and yeah, it worked. Anyway, so we started in Guadalajara. I said I was going to speak in Spanish. Maybe I'm not. Vamos a hacer un poquito de español. Maybe I am. I don't know. Les voy a contar un poco del viaje que hice, que les voy a estar compartiendo en las próximas semanas. Hicimos un viaje totalmente espontáneo. Quiero que les muestren, a ver si Enrique acá les muestra la foto del mapa. Algunos de ustedes me dijeron, Jenny, no lo hagas, no viajes en carretera por México, está súper peligroso, especialmente porque está caliente. Yo no sabía que es caliente, no sé, acá está el mapa. Ok, acá está el mapa. So, este es el mapa. This is the map, and this is the road trip. Oh, okay, this area, okay. And this is the drive that we did for 2 weeks. So, fue más o menos como que llegar a Guadalajara, rentar un auto, una camioneta y, por cierto, no vayan en octubre porque todo está súper caro. O sea, lo que vale un auto en agosto o en julio es como 3 veces más en octubre. Así que regla número 1. Y aprecio de que algunos de ustedes me dijeron, ten cuidado, no te lo recomiendo, está muy peligroso, porque algunas de las zonas que pasamos sí estuvieron peligrosas, cosa que yo casi que me hice muy chiquitita en el auto, pero bueno, medio como que, ok, buena energía, no pasa nada. Pero fue de maravilla. Cada vez me quedo más anonadada con los lugares tan hermosos que tiene México para disfrutar. O sea, constantemente uno ve fotos, imágenes, videos, ¿no? Pero el vivirlo y hacer este tipo de recorrido espontáneo, porque para mí fue más que todo, bueno, voy a comprar un ticket de ida. No sé cuándo vamos a volver, era yo y mi camarógrafo, dije, así que digo, dile a tu novia, le digo de que no sabes cuándo vas a volver. y era bueno para hacer las fotografías del calendario, lo cual salieron bomba, pero era buscar lugares energéticos, buscar lugares positivos, buscar lugares de buena vibra, ¿no? Y naturales y paisajes hermosos que sabemos que México tiene por todos lados. Entonces empezamos el recorrido y el primer lugar donde terminamos fue Xilitla. Este fue el único lugar que yo planeé de ir. Dije, bueno, Xilitla va a ser nuestro primer lugar. Tenía la ruta del mapa de lo que quería hacer, pero no tenía claro dónde en realidad ni nos íbamos a hospedar, ni íbamos a terminar haciendo las fotos. Solamente era, bueno, llegamos y ahora ver en la computadora, a ver qué hay por acá a la vuelta. Y ahí espontáneamente de una noche a la otra rentar en los Airbnb, rentando cabañitas, hoteles, esto y lo otro. En lugares hasta nos hacían canjes por estadía, hoteles donde caíamos muy bien. Dicen, ay, están haciendo fotografía, videos, ¿no se quieren quedar una noche más o 2 noches más? Sí, claro, por supuesto. Entonces, bueno, voy un poquito en inglés y vuelvo. So the first part that we ended up in was Xilitla. I highly recommend, if you like things that are... Oh, wait, no way. Creo que se nos cortó la transmisión en YouTube. See, okay. I think that the first place that we went to, which was Chilitla, so this park is the Edward James Park that we went to, and I saw some commentaries that weren't so great. I personally liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm not a big fan of doing tours that are with a lot of people. Honestly, like I don't like being around a lot of people, mainly because I work with energy, my body gets like ready to emanate, and I get really hot, almost like going through. It's almost like I'm 50 and I'm going through these like menopause moments, but it has nothing to do with that. This is something that I've been going through since I'm 20, since I decided yes, I want to work with energy. So I try to avoid me being in very crowded locations unless I am purposely emanating energy like we do in our nightclub shows. So that wasn't great because you get a ticket and you get to the park and they say, oh no, it's not a private tour, and you're like, what? Like, wait, do you have private tours? Or like, nope. Oh, that sucks, because especially because you want to film, right? So we come out with our equipment, a professional camera, the gimbal and all of this, the microphones, and the moment they see that, they're like, you're not allowed in with cameras. We're like, oh, okay. So I mean, I get it, it's a way to bring some more income in, so it makes sense, but I don't think there was anywhere that we saw that mentioned this. So also, if you are going to go around or you are going to go to the park, make sure you keep it in mind. They're like, you can go with your phones, but you can't take a microphone. I hid my microphone in my boobs, so it was fine. But the idea, the park itself, and the fact that it's so, nature has taken over basically, and I can't tell you much because you have to see the video. There is plenty of videos on it, of course, but I'm going to give you my point of view, my perspective. At the end of the whole tour, the guys from the park, the manager was like, "Oh wait, so who are you filming for? We're going to have to see that footage." And I look at my camera guy and I'm like, I think it's time we leave. And we're like, I have no responsibility of giving you anything. I'm like, specifically because you didn't allow us to bring in our professional equipment. So I'm just going to say no. I'm like, sorry, you were very rude when we first got here. They were very rude with the whole equipment. Like, they weren't like, oh, you can, like, they didn't even like allow us to pay. They're like, no, you have to apply 3 months ahead. It was like $2,000. And it makes sense. Okay, I get it, because people are making money out of these videos, content creators, fine, for photo shoots and stuff, so they do like rent it out for like weddings. So I got it. I'm like, I get it, fine, no problem. But it was nice to go. It was nice to see it. But yeah, we did kind of flee at the end, and I felt like we felt a little bit fugitive. We didn't do anything wrong. It was just that they saw that I was doing like a feedback, and everything that the guide was telling us. I would when the guide was over, I would get like to the side and started telling you guys a little bit of the story in English, because the tour was in Spanish. You can get an English tour, you could get a Spanish tour. It's like 30 people minimum. Okay, so, but it's really interesting. I mean, if you like nature and if you like, this kind of architecture, then you're gonna enjoy it. I can't tell you much. What else? The night that we stayed in Shilitla, I'm not joking. I had really lucid dreamings, and it was so curious to me because I realized, wow, Edward James and the story that they tell us, which is something that you're going to see that I talk about in the show, is they say because this area of Mexico is where the hallucinogenic mushrooms grow, that they would come in August, because that's when they blossom. That's when they grow and they harvest, and they're like they would come in August, and that's when they would get all these ideas, and they would start building, and they would start planting, etc. So a lot of people would just assume that, and I say these guys because there was another guy that another place that we went to later, the same story. They're just very creative ideas that they ended up making buildings out of just dreams. So they would tell you the story that they would have dreams, and based on those dreams, they would build these locations that actually have a lot of symbolism, more than you can imagine. There's like, whoa, it's like, I could see how this guy maybe was in mushrooms, but no, it happened to me, and I did not take mushrooms. I would tell you if I did. It's a very popular location for this. There was I told you guys the time that I did peyote, right? We went to Real de 14 in Potosí, so. But this time, no mushrooms, and then just every evening, I think we were there maybe for like 3 nights straight. It was very, very lucid dreamings. I mean, to the point where I was getting my doubts answered for maybe personal things, even having to do with like my health or things that were worrying me. And it's like, do this. So this is the issue. This is what you have to, what you have to address. And it's like, what? Like, I'm not even meditating. Like, how is this happening? And throughout the trip, as the days went by, I realized that there's a reason why these mushrooms grow in this location, and the reason why they have these properties, hallucinogenic properties, is, in my conclusion, that's what it came to my dreams. In my conclusion, is because of the amount of minerals that are underneath that location, which is a lot. Like, these are places, this part of Mexico particularly, is where you can find a lot of precious stones. Every single precious stone you've ever seen, you can get here. In fact, they are like super cheap. I'm talking about, like, I got this like crazy tree with probably 150 stones on them, and a base. The whole tree branch was like copper, and the base was like another 100 stones, and it was like $25. I was like, what? I'm like, wait. If I knew this, I would have gotten like 5 suitcases, right? And just filled them up with stones, because I love stones. But yeah, and then whoever goes there, of course, buys in bulk and then sells it to you for like thousands of dollars, either in Tulum or here in Miami or anywhere else. So if you like stones, you might want to do a trip to these places in Mexico, because you can get them for really, really great prices. Plus, you're also supporting the locals that are the ones going out to the mines and going out to these locations to actually get these stones. So it made sense, just you add one and one together, and it just made sense that, okay, well, the reason why, these stones have healing properties, right? They absorb energy. There's a location even that I'm going to talk about in a minute that was all of copper. It was just mines filled with copper, okay, and very, very high energy locations. So you're like, what is going on in this area? There's like this like boomerang and this like almost like this vortex of energy just going around. We visited very small, tiny, like 30 people kind of towns, very, very far out in the mountains. That same thing, they'll talk about the energy. They live remotely. I mean, like no communication, no nothing. It's just, but they do get tourists every day. So that these are the locations that I picked for my photo shoot. Beautiful. It almost feels like you're in this enchanted forest. So my conclusion of these mushrooms is because the reason why they're growing here, they have all these properties because there's so many minerals underneath, and these minerals have the information of the earth, and they're channeling energy. Like, these are, every time you get like a stone from somewhere, right, they'll tell you how to cleanse it, they'll tell you how to use it, and you either leave it out in the sun, or you cleanse it with salt water, or whatever it is that works for you, you do it, and it helps you with your energy. So there's a reason why that. So wouldn't it make sense that where these minerals are, whatever grows around it almost makes me feel like Avatar, right? Whatever grows around it is going to have these kind of similar healing properties. So in the sense, well, whoever lives around there is also going to have very lucid dreaming. So I ended up talking to the locals about this, and they actually, they were like, you're right, I never thought about it, but yes, you do have very lucid dreamings. Maybe you get to the point where you kind of just get used to it, and it doesn't happen as often, or you just don't pay attention to it as much, because we do get used to the energy. But it was beautiful. I was not expecting that, and it wasn't like I'm going here to see if this happens. So it made sense why a park like Edward James, and this is a guy that came from England, right, is built with all this imagination. It's like, wow, could you imagine somebody having this type of imagination? It's like, yes, I can, because just being in the location of Xilitla, it was just a massive amount of information, and almost like if you're in a meditative state constantly. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't going to happen to you if you're not connected. Like, if you're one of those people that you're on the phone 24/7, or you're just distracted from energy overall, it's not going to happen to you. So you're going to go there and you're going to be like, Jenny, I slept and it was very nice. I slept very peacefully, but I didn't get any information like you did. So yeah, you have to be open for it, and your channel has to be open to receive any kind of information, even if it's silly or important or whatever it is. So from then on, a little bit of Spanish. Bien, tengo que empezar solamente diciendo de que en Xilitla, increíble, bueno, visitamos el parque de Edward James como primero, ese sí estaba como en la lista de lugares para visitar, y terminé diciendo, bueno, Bueno, al principio nos vieron con todas nuestras cámaras y dijeron, no, no pueden entrar, son como $2,000 para poder grabar, pero ni siquiera te aceptan pagar en el momento. Es, no, tienen que aplicar 3 meses antes, hay que aprobar. No, qué mamera, bueno, está bien. Entonces, dicen, pueden entrar con su celular, pueden grabar con el celular, pero no se permiten micrófonos. O sea, te hacen todo lo posible para no poder grabar correctamente. Con la GoPro también puedes entrar con una GoPro, ¿ok? Así que tengan eso en cuenta por si quieren hacer algún video o algo ahí, porque ya están acostumbrados a lo de los YouTube y todo eso, entonces, bueno, ya se pusieron pilas, vamos a decir. Pero no, no me agradó mucho eso porque siento de que quizás no leímos bien la página, no había mucha información, tampoco estaba claro de que el tour que íbamos a hacer era con mucha gente, entonces los tours no son privados, ni siquiera hay opción de hacer un tour privado, son de a 30 personas, nos tocó un grupo hermoso, yo no soy muy fanática de hacer tours en grupo. Porque no soy muy fanática de estar alrededor de mucha gente, porque estoy tan acostumbrada ahora de estar en soledad, que específicamente desde los 20 que empecé con el trabajo de la energía, en el momento que estoy rodeada de muchísima gente, empiezo a transpirar muchísimo y mi cuerpo es como que quiere lanzar esa energía, quiere irradiar esa energía. Entonces es como si pasara por un momento de la menopausia. Y esto desde los 20 que empecé con el trabajo de energía, es súper interesante. Pero bueno, entonces empezamos el tour, súper interesante. Si les gusta ver el video, ya prontamente estará para que lo puedan ver. Lo primero que vino a la mente es, o sea, de muchas personas es, no, pues estos tipos, obvio, que tenían este tipo de originalidad y imaginación porque estaban con hongos, ¿no? O sea, estamos en el lugar de los hongos. Y justo agosto, septiembre, agosto es cuando la gente más va a hacer ese tipo de ceremonias. Septiembre, octubre. A ver, permiso. Y al final, al quedarme ahí la primera noche, me di cuenta de que nada que ver. O sea, sí, tú vas a este parque y es algo surrealista. A ver, Edward James, uno de los artistas de surrealismo número uno en la historia, en el mundo. Pero te dicen, este señor venía de Inglaterra. No les voy a contar toda la historia porque para eso está el video. Pero muchas personas con el mal concepto de que, bueno, se comía todos los hongos. Y no es que tenga nada de malo, o sea, son cosas que vienen de la naturaleza, fantástico, haz lo que te haga feliz. Eh, la primera noche que dormí ahí fue una locura la cantidad de sueños lúcidos que tuve sin intentarlo, sin consumir hongos, sin nada. O sea, fue solamente despertarme y decir, tengo la respuesta para un montón de cosas que tenía dudas. Entonces me dio a sacar la conclusión de que estos lugares, sin querer queriendo, para las personas que están abiertas energéticamente, ¿no? Que tienes tu canal abierto, tu mente abierta para poder recibir esta información, es sumamente clave, o sea, porque inmediatamente te vas a estar recibiendo la imaginación, vas a estar recibiendo las imágenes o las ideas que corresponden para poder llevar a cabo tu proyecto, ¿no? Entonces, eso me sorprendió muchísimo y al tercer día fue como que ahora entiendo. O sea, esta gente no estaba con hongos, simplemente pues tenían el canal muy abierto y recibían toda esta información. Entonces, hablando con locales, hablando con personas de la zona, y dicen que sí, que efectivamente es un lugar de mucha energía, que se siente la energía, la gente cree mucho en la energía en esas zonas, y que los sueños son también bastante lúcidos, que nunca se habían puesto a pensar. Pero bueno, al fin del cabo, de ahí, una cosa a la otra, terminamos cayendo en un lugar que era la casa de la ciudad de Beto Ramón. Antes de irnos del parque de Edward James, perdón, inglés y español. Antes de irnos del parque, resulta de que como no nos permitieron entrar con nuestro equipo fotográfico profesional, dijimos, bueno, pues hacemos todo con, ¿no?, nuestro celu, total, es 8K, 4K, no pasa nada, pero no nos permitieron entrar con micrófono, así que lo tuvimos medio que esconder. Y como vieron que cada vez que terminaba el guía explicando algo, yo cuando se iba al grupo, yo me quedaba solita y hacía una presentación explicando lo que decía el guía resumidamente, porque hablaba un montón, que es muy interesante si les interesa ese tipo de temas. Al final del tour terminaron como que llamándonos la atención y diciendo, sí, es que dice el gerente del parque que vamos a necesitar una copia de lo que grabaron para aprobación. Y yo como que, perdón. ¿Saben? Si no hubieran sido tan mala onda al principio de no permitirnos entrar con las cámaras como correspondía, querían una copia, no dijeron para aprobación, o sea, una copia para ver y para también como que compartirlo. Pero también aparentemente porque tienen miedo de lo que uno pueda decir, porque han tenido malos reviews, han tenido personas como que dicen cosas que no son del parque, como que no está bien cuidado, y en realidad la razón por la cual el parque está tan lleno de vegetación es porque es parte del proceso que quería Edward James, que era que la naturaleza eventualmente vuelva a tomar control de sus estructuras. Es toda una historia muy romántica, muy bonita, ya verán. Lo pueden buscar igual en internet, ¿no? Si no quieren esperar mi video, pues pueden ver otro. Pero bueno, así que yo como que fue un momento de un poquito de incomodidad y decir, no, ¿sabes qué? Pensándolo bien, no voy a esperar porque dicen, bueno, esperen aquí, va a venir el gerente para tomar su información. Y fue como un minuto, dos, y yo dije, miro a mi camarógrafo y le digo, pero no tenemos por qué darle nada. Digo, sí. Y dice, sí, no, tienes razón, y el día estás en todo tu derecho en irte. Y digo, sí, ¿sabes qué? Mejor nos vamos. Digo, no, siento de que si hubieran sido más buena gente al principio, sí, con mucho gusto les compartiríamos el material, pero como fueron muy rotundos en decir no se puede grabar, entonces, pues, o sea, sin permiso 3 meses antes y $2,000, eh, con todo, o sea, con todo gusto, ¿no? Obviamente, cada uno pone sus reglas en el lugar porque hay gente que hace bodas, hacen fotografías, han hecho videos musicales profesionales, entonces está súper, o sea, no tuve ningún complaint sobre eso. Así que bueno, salimos corriendo. Entonces fue como que, no sé, siento que estamos haciendo algo mal, pero no hicimos nada malo y no dijimos nada malo, entonces, pero bueno, ahí se quedó el gerente creo que esperándonos hasta el día de hoy. Bueno, ahí terminó el parque, terminamos después yendo a un pueblito muy pequeño también de una aldea donde no hay electricidad, o sea, no hay, perdón, recién habían obtenido electricidad, viven muy pocas familias, ahí terminamos haciendo también fotos para el calendario, sumamente lindas, era como un lugar de cuentos de hadas, para que sepan. Hermoso, la gente muy perceptiva, las personas también cuando les hablas de energías y todo, nos contaron historias de pues entidades y almas y personas que han visto, muy abiertos, un poco sobre extraterrestres, o sea, una zona, la verdad, bastante paranormal, pero a buena hora. Luego de ahí, ¿cómo iba el mapa? Ya me olvidé. A ver, después de ahí terminamos en la Casa de la Salud de Beto Ramón. Otra historia similar. Then we ended up in the House of Health that I was not planning on going there. It was kind of just like the last minute thing of it's starting to rain. Where can we go that there's a roof? And we ended up in the House of Health of Beto Ramon. So Beto Ramon is we did a whole video on it. You're going to be able to see it if you like that kind of history. It's an indigenous family that the man was getting information in his dreams of how to mix the plants, right, medicinal plants, to heal people from illnesses. And he became apparently very famous. He didn't die, he died not too long ago, just a few years back. And he got visited by the president, he got visited by celebrities. Surprisingly, everybody that I've talked to about this place that is Mexican has no idea that it exists. I was like, man, I really hope that, this brings more people to you, because if you guys know that I'm a really big fan of health in a natural way. So if you have any kind of health issue and you could get medicinal drops or pills, right, that are natural, then even better, right? Homeopathic medicines, that's the name. So this guy was getting, in his dreams, they would tell him, mix this plant with this plant and this amount of times a day. So they have these like little rooms with doctors, indigenous doctors that treat you. So you come in and you tell them what your problem is, and it's really cheap. It's like $2, and then they'll say, okay, do these drops, do this drop, and every single bottle of drops was like $6 to $10 for like a 1 month supplement of these things. It's like, oh my God, if people only knew that this place existed. They also ship all over Mexico. I don't think they ship international, but if you have somebody in Mexico or if you're traveling there, I think there are so many people in the world that are suffering from things that need attention that are not necessarily in the ER or with pills and medicines from pharmacies, that you go out of your way. If you're a family member or the person you love or you have a problem, you're going to go out of your way to find a natural way of healing yourself. So that is a place that I will highly recommend. When he passed away, that's when I added two and two together, because I'm like, okay, you have one guy over here an hour away that is building this beautiful, majestic, like Garden of Eden. And then you have this other guy that has nothing to do with the Englishman over here. He is actually Nawal, which is the indigenous people of of that location. And he is receiving messages that this is what he needs to mix to heal you. And he was healing people, and they are still healing people with these medicines. So when he passed away, his family took over the property, and they make these pills and these drops and bottles in that same location. And he ended up building like a really high like tower. It's like this castle. And he says that the way that he built it is also, it was something that came to him in his dreams, and that he would just wake up and say, well, we have to build here and we have to do it like this, and the walls have to be of glass. It's really interesting. We did a whole tour of the property. I think you're going to enjoy it. So that was nice. And it ended up being that the person that did the interview with us, some way or another, the conversation came about, and it's like, oh yeah, you should call so and so. He's this top shaman for all of the shamans in Mexico. And I was like, really? I'm like, just coincidentally, because I don't believe in coincidences. And I think that's why it's not great to do plans. When you have something as a goal, right? Sometimes when you plan things out, you're not really leaving it out to destiny to take you to where you need to go. So that is exactly where I wanted to go, and energy, as you might say, just coincidentally took us to that location because it was raining. I didn't even want to go at the beginning. I was like, no, I mean, it looks like a place that I just, no, it's fine. It looks like a shop. And yeah, so connections, right? And you end up meeting people that have to do with what your mission is or what you need to be doing. So that was nice. After there, we ended up in a really, really high energy waterfall that also no clue that it was there. It was called the Tamil Waterfalls, and holy crap, I'm talking about, like, to get to this waterfall, not only was it like an hour walking, well, maybe half an hour. We took an hour because we kept stopping to do photos. It was like, oh, this is a beautiful place. Stop, take a picture. This is a beautiful place. Stop, take a picture. Because we were doing the calendar, right? So, but it was just amazing how the moment I got to the waterfall, like, it was just this heat flow of energy going through my body. And I kept interviewing our guide, and I kept changing his name 5 to 10 minutes afterwards, right? I'm like, I'm really sorry. I don't know why I'm calling you this Gerardo. I think I was calling him, and his name was something very similar. And he says, and he looks at me, and when we get to the waterfall, he looks at me and he says, this waterfall was actually my grandfather's, and his name is, I think it was Gerardo. So I was, my skin just got like goosebumps all over. And he's like, so now it makes sense why you keep calling me that, because he just became really present. And he says to me, if it wasn't for him selling the property back in the day, I would be the owner of this beautiful place right now. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, well, he probably is present because I kept changing your name for his name. So that totally answers it. I'm like, well, you know what? If anything, just be blessed that you're here. I mean, the energy of the people in these small towns was just so loving, so positive, so vibrant. A lot of people would see locations that are a little bit more in a humble sense, right? Because there's a little bit of poverty, but these locations were farm locations, very nice, like Airbnbs, not nice in a sense of like city-like. I mean, you had like really nice, alpine villages kind of type, or not villages, alpine cabins, rivers, right? You had a lot of cows, a lot of sheep, a lot of horses. But I'm like, how do you feel just working here? And he's like, I wouldn't change it for the world. He said the energy that you feel here is just, you're never sad, and whenever something happens, you just come here and recharge. And the energy here was so strong that the next day I got like a message from my meditators saying like, we're a little worried because we felt that you were in a place that your energy was dimmed. and we're a little worried. So I sent them a picture and they're like, now we get it. They're like, yeah, it wasn't that you were dimmed. It was that you were in a way high energy location than the energy that you have. So that makes total sense. So you recharged. I was like, nice. So the stairs to get to the place were literally like this high. I mean, they were like, you need to, I saw a lady that was coming up right afterwards. It's not a very high trafficked location for tourists, so that's also good if you like nature walks. But yeah, there was a group that went right before us. That was the guy was with Animal Planet. And I don't know why this always happens, but every time I go to film somewhere, I either run into Animal Planet crew or National Geographic, which we also ran into later on. So it's like, are we choosing the same locations to film? But I'm not kidding. It's always happened to me. Every place I choose to film, I always run into a crew. But they're usually super down to earth, super cool, and of course their equipment's a lot bigger and there are a lot more people. But what matters is the end quality, right? That you deliver. Okay, so that was like a full day. So if you're feeling low in energy, the waterfalls of Tamul, where you would have to definitely go up some really steep steps and not so safe stairs, by the way, you're going to see the video, but it's definitely worth it. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And I actually made that picture the cover of our calendar because it was just, yeah, it really stood out. Bien, terminamos después de ese parque, terminamos en la Casa de la Salud de Beto Ramón. Es sumamente recomendable. Me sorprendió muchísimo de que muchas personas a las cuales hablé de este lugar no sabían que existía, más que nada mexicanos. Muchas personas con problemas de salud, y yo como que siendo la promotora del lugar, ¿no? Como que, ay, no escuchaste de este lugar, sí. Resulta de que Beto Ramón, una persona de origen náhuatl, recibía a través de sus sueños también, ¿no? Estamos hablando de toda esta zona, ¿no? A través de sus sueños recibía las medicinas para poder curar la salud. Entonces mezclar aloe vera con romero con esto, ¿no? Entonces toma esto tanto tiempo y resulta de que empezó a sanar mucha gente, que hasta tuvo visitas de personas muy famosas en México, el presidente, celebridades, y bueno, ahí fue creciendo y creciendo, y todo basado en donaciones. Hoy en día lo maneja su familia, hacen la medicina ahí mismo y tienen consultorios donde es sumamente económico. Tú puedes ir y alguien te atiende y te dicen, bueno, tienes que tomar, ¿cuál es tu problema? Cáncer, problemas de hígado, colesterol, lo que sea, pero todo homeopático. Entonces te muestran y te enseñan sobre las plantas, cuál es para qué, cosa de que ya saben que yo adoro todo eso y siento de que la gente tendría que volver a conectarse con todos estos temas. Por lo menos a mí me apasionan. Entonces siento de que si hay alguien en el mundo o algún familiar tuyo que está pasando por un problema de salud y tú necesitas un lugar natural, pues por lo menos, bueno, ya tienes otro en el cual puedes encontrar una solución. Y cada vez hay más, y eso es lo más bonito, ¿no? Bueno, hicimos un programa entero solo de este lugar. Casualmente, ya saben que no existen las casualidades, sino las causalidades. La persona con la cual hicimos todo el tour, resulta de que, tienes que comunicarte con fulano de tal, que él es la cabeza de los chamanes en México, son no sé cuántos chamanes, y yo... Era justo lo que buscaba. Y a ese lugar terminamos sin hacer ningún plan. Por eso yo siento de que cuando tú tienes, o sea, si tú quieres hacer un viaje y tienes un propósito para el viaje, no solamente como que vamos a hacer un video, sino un propósito de decir estoy en búsqueda de algo, una respuesta o lo que necesites, no hagas tantos planes. O sea, haz un plan inicial y déjate llevar, porque la energía misma, si estás bien conectado, si estás bien, si estás canalizando buena energía, va a ir guiándote para que conozcas las personas que necesitas y para que termines yendo a, a los lugares que necesitas estar. Entonces, eso es justamente lo que sucedió. Este lugar ni siquiera fue algo que nosotros planeamos en ir y resulta de que, wow, información súper interesante. Muchas personas, por supuesto, que benefician de ese lugar y espero de que también puedan conocer el lugar a través del video para poder, pues, seguir creciendo. Dan entregas de sus medicinas en todo México, súper económico. Estamos hablando de un tarrito de un mes de tratamiento por unos 100 pesos, que son como unos $6. A $10 más o menos. Entonces dices, encima de que es algo natural y que no te está teniendo un efecto secundario, no te están robando. Entonces ahí es donde tenemos que volver y era la razón por la cual emprendí ese viaje para poder hacer estos videos documentales en realidad, porque el propósito era pues volver a nuestras raíces, ¿no? Volver a lugares energéticos, volver a conectar con la tierra, volver a conectar con personas que tienen ese contacto con la tierra y poder aprender de ellos, que creo que es lo más importante, porque muchas personas que viven en la ciudad pues simplemente se han perdido un poquito en el camino, ¿no? Lo cual siento que también es inevitable. Ahora estando en Miami, llevamos que una semana, Enrique está acá todo el tiempo, pero yo llevo 15 días y ya me quiero ir, pero rapidísimo, no aguanto más estar en esta ciudad hermosa, divina, está hermosa Miami, pero cuando estás en un lugar tan natural como estoy yo en la selva, en Tulum, sí, como que te acostumbras a otra energía, a otra... La gente acá está siempre acelerada, siempre rápido, nadie se habla, es diferente. No que sea malo, simplemente son diferentes estilos de vida. Entonces, de ahí, a ver, terminamos en las cataratas de Tamul. Wow, si viven en México y no han visitado las cataratas de Tamul y les gusta el turismo natural, que es a lo que yo voy, sumamente recomendable energéticamente. Si tienen un problema y necesitan recargar su energía, vayan a esa catarata. No es para nada altamente concurrida. Nos topamos con un equipo del Animal, creo que era el Animal Planet. Siempre me pasa que cuando voy a lugares naturales me topo con algún crew de un canal, así sea de National Geographic, que nos topamos encima más adelante con el crew, ya les voy a contar. Pero siempre sucede. Yo, ¿por qué será que estoy eligiendo los mismos lugares que van ellos? Solo que, claro, nosotros somos un equipo chiquito, ¿no? Y ellos son, o sea, tienen otras cosas. Pero bueno, lo que vale es lo que uno entrega al final, ¿no? Y lo que le gusta ver a la gente. Estas cataratas, les digo, empezamos a hacer el recorrido para llegar a lo que es la catarata en sí, que es como media hora caminando. Nosotros nos tardamos mucho más porque era... pues parábamos para hacer fotografías y al llegar a la catarata yo le seguía cambiando el nombre a nuestro guía y era como que, ay, no, perdón, no sé qué me pasa, pero no, su nombre era una cosa y yo le cambiaba por algo que era muy similar, pero no era su nombre. Entonces, en un momento, casi que cuando nos vamos, resulta que él me termina diciendo, es que esta catarata era de mi abuelo. Dice, y si él no la hubiera vendido, yo hoy en día fuera el dueño y tendría mucho dinero, sería millonario, me dice. Y yo le miro y le digo, bueno, entonces, y el abuelo era el del nombre del cual yo seguía diciendo, en vez de decirle su nombre, estaba diciendo el nombre de su abuelo. Dice, y lo siento muy presente, le digo, sí, ahora me responde por qué sigo llamándote por el nombre de tu abuelo, lo cual no sabía que era tu abuelo. Pero fíjense, le digo, bueno, pues quizás es una forma de él hacerse presente en decir de que está contigo y quieras o no, pues sigue siendo millonario. Y ahí es cuando terminó diciendo, pues sabes, tienes razón. Dice, porque aquí respiramos aire puro, tenemos una energía muy, muy pura, la gente no se enferma, pues no tenemos contaminación de aire, o sea, tenemos nuestra comida fresca porque son muchos ranchos y eso al fin del cabo pues tiene mucho más valor que lo material. Y un muchacho joven, digo, wow, qué bonito, la gente de esos lugares, ya ahí estábamos cerca a San Luis Potosí, pero son zonas súper energéticas. Este lugar en particular, les digo de que tan fuerte la energía que en la mañana siguiente me escriben mis meditadores y me dicen, Jenny, no estamos un poco preocupados porque te sentimos que estuviste en un lugar y tu energía se opacó muchísimo. y había algo muy fuerte alrededor y necesitamos que nos respondas algunas cosas porque no sabían si era algo malo o algo bueno. Entonces cuando terminé mandándoles una foto y mostrándoles dónde estaba, dicen, ah, ya, lo que entonces pasó fue que era tan fuerte la concentración de energía en esa catarata que tu energía se opacó. Pero claro, absorbió, ¿no? Entonces por eso les digo de que fue un viaje súper energético. Son lugares súper energéticos si estás consciente a querer también, ¿no? Absorber esa energía. Estamos hablando de no ir y solamente estar en el celular, sino ir y decir, o sea, absorber, o sea, tomarte el tiempo para sentir lo que ronda alrededor, lo que se siente. Vi una señora subir, había solo un grupito antes que nosotros, que era este que les comentó, y la señora tendría unos 60 años quizás. Subió sin problema, pero las escaleras para bajar y subir a esta catarata son literalmente así. No miento, ya lo verán. Entonces, y no son muy segura que digamos, o sea, tiene algunos pasos algunos escalones que faltan. Bueno, se sentían seguras, pero sí los escalones que faltaban, no tantos. Así que bueno, no es para todo el mundo. Obviamente tenés que estar bien de salud, tenés que estar físicamente bien para que no tengas un accidente. Y no necesariamente tenés que ir a la catarata. Todo alrededor de la zona de la catarata es un lugar muy energético. Entonces, si están pensando ir a México, busquen las cataratas de Tamul. Si les gusta el tema energético, y ahí seguramente se van a súper recargar. All right, guys. What time is it? ¿Qué hora es? No sé ni cuánto llevamos en vivo. Yo puedo hablar toda la noche. So after that, I mean, it was a long trip. I might just have to cut it in two. But, ¿sabemos cuánto llevamos? Aquí están súper distraídos. Sí. ¿Cuánto vamos de tiempo? Ok, tengo 20 minutos. Ah, pensé que pasó mucho más. Okay, so after this, we did naked ATVing, which was great. You know, it's a little chilly, but it was fun. Of course, naked pictures everywhere. So it was like a division between documentary style, you know, TV, and then naked pictures for the calendar, NFW, right? Not safe for work and safe for work. So I think that was probably the highest in energy locations that I visited in most of the place that we went to. It was really, really nice. So Xilitla and San Luis Potosí, you know, these locations were just like a bomb of energy. It's just keep recharging and recharging. We stayed at this beautiful like ranch style teepee cabins where the water that was running through you know, they're like, oh, it's natural water, awesome, there's fishes in it, amazing. You sleep with the sound of the water going around, but then the moment you get in, it's natural. That says it all, right? So a lot of cow poop. You know, some people say it's good for the hair, right? I didn't want to try it, especially being naked. I didn't feel like it was hygienic, so it was just like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna skip it. But I'm like, they could at least clean it. Come on, once a week, and I would go like this with my feet, right? And all the poop would go everywhere. From there, we started our traveling with a little bit more of a nervous feel because we were getting into the heated cartel area of Mexico. I always, for some reason, felt safe, so at no moment did I feel like we were in trouble or we were in a difficult situation, except in one 20-minute time that the GPS took us off-road. Another thing, if you're going to travel through any Sierra location in Mexico and probably anywhere, do not listen to the GPS. It will literally tell you that you'll take 1 hour to go. But when the roads are like this, because you're going around mountains, you literally do twice as much, I would say, or a little bit more than twice as much. So I don't know why Google does this. So if the GPS says 1 hour, make sure you leave early because it's going to be like 3. Okay, so that's another thing that I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, because it wasn't my first rodeo going into the Sierra of Hidalgo. And I fell in love with the place so much, and I realized why now, because it's very highly energetical places. So after that, I don't know if I'm missing anything, but my memory is really bad. But I recorded everything. After that, I think we ended up in Morelia. So Morelia is, we have friends there, and we ended up doing trips to locations nearby. My next favorite place was Santa Clara del Cobre. Oh my God, I am in love with this little small town of copper. Okay, so known for copper, on top of copper mines, and now they don't dig out copper anymore from the place, but they actually they recycle it. So you know all those cables that you throw out because they no longer work for you? Don't throw it out anymore. Copper has so many benefits for your health. You're going to end up, all those things that you're throwing out cable wise, rip out the plastic, recycle the copper, put it into your water tank, put it into anywhere where you have water, and it's going to be great to get some copper into your body. You know, people are drinking from copper cups. I'm one of these people. But the amount of information that I learned from copper from this place, wow, I had no idea. And I'm really glad I did that show as well, because it was probably, we probably did like an hour and a half of interview. It was from the beginning to the end of how how these things are made. Look at this little shot glass. All of this is handmade. And the couple, which was a friend of my friends, the couple that has been in business to do this copper for years, okay? They looked probably like 20 years younger from the age that they had. Their skin was unbelievable. They had no health issues. Really, really nice, like bright pink cheeks. I was like, oh my God, I love your skin. What do you do? She's like, copper. So as you can see, I'm like coppered out now. Like I have copper here, I have copper here, I have copper here. And well, you're gonna have to see the show to see all of the benefits. But at the end of the day, for example, they have a puppy, 16 years old. No joke. The puppy drinks from a copper cup. The water is in a copper cup, and he wears a copper necklace. Yeah. So they even cook in copper pans, which made me buy like 5 copper pans, which, by the way, you could not travel to the US in a carry-on. Apparently, you can't travel with pans up top. They didn't say why, but it would make sense to think that probably because you could hurt someone with it because it's very heavy. So yeah, that was like, oh crap. They're like, you can either leave the pans or check your luggage. I'm like, damn it, I'll check my luggage. It's worth it. So I got all my family cooking in copper pans now, and I got my own copper pans. And I'm like, next time I come here, it's going to be empty luggages and just a bunch of stones and copper. Super, super cheap, just because this is where the things are made. And the one thing that they could not repeat enough was, don't get things on Amazon. You know, like don't get things on stores because you don't know if it's real copper. There's a lot of people selling stuff online that comes from China and it's not real copper. So it's going to look like copper, but it's another metal and you're not going to get the benefits that you should. If it's real copper, it's going to be super expensive. So we're talking about a pan, you know, they're like the 5-star Michelin restaurant owners, chefs, buy the pans from them. We're talking about that when you go to a store like here in Miami, I mean, a copper pan could probably be like $1,000. And anywhere else, I mean, maybe like 500, 200, I mean, you name it. But people don't buy copper pots because it's very expensive. I'm not kidding. A copper pan in their place was like $25. I was like, what? I'm like, give me 10. There's no more room in the luggage. But especially after they explained all the benefits that it has. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys also the information of the store. By the way, none of these places were paid. All these places were super spontaneous, and I will only share with you guys what I truly, truly feel works because I've seen it as a result in my own personal life or in the people that I've interviewed as a testimony. When you see someone talking about, I've always said, don't ever follow somebody's advice if they don't play the part, in the sense like you're not going to follow somebody talking about how copper is great for you if they're intoxicated and really sick. You can follow them, right? You're going to take their advice if they're really healthy and you can see it. Their energy is amazing. I was like, whoa. So that's why I got really enthusiastic about sharing that information and doing that interview. And the couple got so excited with the interview. They said, we actually have National Geographic coming to do a documentary on the making of copper also, because we just kind of dropped in and it was like, hey, my friend is really good friends with the owner and he's like, oh, my friend's here from Miami, she's doing, oh yeah, let's do it. We ended up doing like a 2-hour show. And and it came out great. And the guys from National Geographic came late. So they came like 2 hours late. So it was great for me because I'm like, we had the fresh interview. And when the team came in, and it was like 6 people, super nice as well, super nice crew and everything. Fucking crazy lenses, like, whoa, that's a big camera. Crazy lenses. And yeah, I feel like our interview went so much better. It was just, the guy's like, I was actually prepared for the National Geographic, interview, but now, I think the Miami TV one came out so much better. I'm more interested in your interview than the one that they're doing because you were going to the spiritual part of it, and I like that. So it ended up, I don't want to tell you the whole show, but it ended up being that copper, as you see it, was the mineral of Aphrodite. So it has a lot to do with your sacred chakra. So by the time we were leaving, they didn't want to let us go. By the time National Geographic finally got there, they're like, you guys have to stay for lunch. They were making fried fish in copper pots, and it was made for the National Geographic crew. And they're like, no, but the owners were like, we want you guys to also stay for dinner. So I was like, yeah, I'm not about to crash a lunch with National Geographic that we weren't invited to. I'm like, I think we're cool. So because the moment that they got there and the owners are telling them like, oh, so Miami TV is also here and they're gonna have lunch with us, like most of them were like, yay. And then there was like one of them that was like, like, no. I think that their staff actually ended up taking pictures with me. 2 of them, I think, knew me. So like, can we have a picture? I'm like, yeah, sure. But it was really nice. It was just so nice meeting with people that were so connected to energy, So this that you're seeing right here, I'm not going to open it because it's ready to go in my luggage. It's probably like a meter long. So it's probably like this long. When we were doing the interview, I was talking to the couple about the energy work that I do, and I said, so how does this work with energy? Because they was talking about energy so much, like copper balances your energy, it protects you from negative energy, it cleanses you. It's basically like a conductor. It's a conduct, right, of energy. That's why it's so important to wear something of copper. And I was like, I wonder how this would work with my therapy. So I'm like, and the guy looks at me and he's like, you know what? And he calls his friend, his worker. He's like, do we have any of those belts that I was making you make? Because you know what? For some reason, I had a great idea of making belts that would cover the navel area, right, to protect the energy. For people that do shaman work and for people that do energy work, to help them out. And it's the first belt that we've made, but I don't know if it's ready yet. This is such a coincidence, he says to me. And I'm like, there's no such things as coincidences. And he says, because it's the first one that we've ever made in our store. And I don't know if it's ready. So he asked his worker, and his worker's like, yeah, it's ready. We just finished painting it because they put like this acrylic on top so it stays shiny. Not the part that goes in your skin, but the outside part. So he's like, oh my God, yeah, bring it over. And he brings it over. She brings it over and I see it and I was like, whoa. I'm like, that's beautiful. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. How much is it? And he looks at me and he's like, I don't know why, but I'm going to gift it to you. I was like, oh. My whole body just got like goosebumps. And he's like, the energy work, and I can feel your energy, he says to me. He's like, and I think it's going to be really beneficial for you. And I'm like, I think so too. I'm like, thank you so much. I'm like, they ended up gifting me like a whole bunch of stuff, but this was like, whoa, like, because I had some rituals to be doing like a couple of days afterwards with souls that I never knew that copper would make such a difference in energy work. And speaking of like, if you're working with energy, but speak about like you wearing something that has copper every day and how it affects your energy and how it protects you and how it balances you out. It's just, I lived it for my own self. Same thing. The next day, my meditators email, Jenny, we felt that you visited a place that was filled in copper and it was such a high energy place. that I'm like, no wonder. I mean, it was just like so vibrant. The moment you get into this town, the moment you walk, inside the store, it's just like, woo, like it's almost like you're being like radiated on. So yeah, wait for that one to come out as well. So if you're interested in the properties of copper, even for sexual energy, which is something that he shared with us, how this actually also helps your sexual energy, not wearing the copper, but just overall having copper either with your water or with your meal or cooking your meals or wearing it, keeps your energy vibrant, because remember, sexual energy is energy. Okay, so it's that simple. I have not gone a day since we left that place without my bracelet and my ring and my necklace. And I'm not kidding. If I have a sore neck, this takes it away right away. So if I put it on when I have a sore neck, it'll go away. My camera guy was driving and he's like, my neck is really hurting. And I'm like, oh, wait. So I put the necklace on him. 10 minutes. He's like, I don't need it anymore. He's like, holy crap. He's like, that really worked. I'm like, sí. Bueno, me quedo corta, pero les voy a contar un poquito sobre el último lugar que visitamos, que era no, último lugar, uno de los que sigue, porque hay mucho más para contarles, Santa Clara del Cobre. ¡Wow! ¡Qué pueblo más hermoso! Van a ver toda la historia del lugar, pero nuestra experiencia ahí fue, ya saben, todo fue espontáneo, nada fue planeado. Mi amigo, muy amigo del dueño del lugar donde hacen las tinas de cobre, es básicamente una fábrica de cobre, que es de lo que viven todos los artesanos de este pueblo. Y en el momento que llegamos, eran como las 10 de la mañana y dicen, uy, justo hoy estamos esperando al equipo de National Geographic porque van a hacer un documental de cómo se hace el cobre. Y nosotros, bueno, pues empecemos nosotros antes de que lleguen ellos, ¿no? Para no molestar. Y empezamos la entrevista, grabamos toda la acción, digamos, de los artesanos, que wow, te quedas con la boca abierta. Hecho a mano, chicos, o sea, literal, hecho a mano, todo hecho a mano. Una de las cosas que te dicen ellos es, no compren cobre en internet porque está viniendo mucho metal bañado y dicen que es cobre, viene de China y no tiene los mismos beneficios. Entonces, tanto mito que hay detrás del cobre de que es venenoso, que en un programa de 1 hora que vean cuando salga este programa van a ver de que todo es mentira. Y lo más lindo de todo es que son su propio testimonio. O sea, vos ves, el perro de 16 años toma agua de un vaso de cobre. O sea, tiene el mineral del cobre, 16 años y sigue caminando, lo van a ver porque lo mostré en la entrevista. La pareja, una pareja radiante en energía, una energía tenían, o sea, que enseguida hicimos clic, nos caímos súper bien, ¿no? Mutuamente fue como que siento tu energía, yo siento tu energía. Una piel, una rugosidad, una luz tan bonita, decís, wow, y hablan del cobre con tanta pasión y tanta convención, porque lo viven, ¿no? De que no tienen problemas de salud, ni artritis, ni nada, y se ven mucho más jóvenes de lo que son. Entonces, hasta las mascarillas de cobre, imagínense. Entonces, claro, tienen un negocio, pero qué bonito de que, bueno, poder compartir toda esta información con personas que no saben, que tenemos un mal mito de lo que es este mineral, cuando en realidad es un mineral que quizás nos han, como todo lo que nos han vendido, ¿no? Nos han vendido de que es malo para nosotros, pero en realidad es lo que necesitamos para poder balancear nuestra energía, proteger nuestra energía y poder estar más energéticos, básicamente, ¿no? Entonces, hicimos una entrevista como de 1 hora, el hombre terminó hablando de todo lo que le iba a hablar al National Geographic. Me lo terminó hablando a mí y al final fue como que creo que me va a gustar mucho más tu entrevista de Miami TV que la de National Geographic, dice, porque tú le estás dando un enfoque en lo energético, cosa que a ellos solamente le interesa cómo se hace el cobre. Entonces, ahí como que se sintieron que pudieron realmente compartir lo que creen y lo que sienten y lo que han experimentado. Hablaron de la energía sexual. Me contaron de que el cobre es uno de los minerales que usaba Afrodita, o sea, de que es uno de los minerales que justamente se necesita para mantener esa energía sexual activa. Y antes de irnos, porque no les voy a contar todo porque tienen que ver el programa, antes de irnos cocinan en sartenes de cobre. Todos sus utensilios son de cobre. Los chefs Michelin de México compran sus sartenes ahí. customizadas, ustedes pueden pedir cosas customizadas. Pasa que, claro, la gente no compra cosas de cobre porque es muy cara. Tú puedes comprar quizás una olla, una sartén de cobre. Acá en Miami te puede salir $1000. Vas allá, tenés una sartén de este tamaño, $25. Hecha a mano encima. Es como que... Yo digo, no, la próxima me traigo como 3 maletas, las lleno de cobre. Encima quise viajar con las sartenes de cobre. Y cuando llegué a la parte del chequeo, señora, ¿usted tiene sartenes en su maleta? Y yo, sí. No puede viajar con sartenes. O la manda abajo o le deja las sartenes a alguien. Y yo, no. Así que mandé la mano. Y digo, bueno, ok, tiene sentido. Es un metal pesado. Le agarras y le das un sartenazo a alguien, pues seguro que es un arma, ¿no? Ay, me está haciendo mal el aire. Entonces, no terminé. Me queda un poquito más, a ver. Entonces, terminamos de hacer las entrevistas y el señor dice, ¿saben? Tengo ya que terminamos hablando, ¿no? Dicen, ya que tú haces terapias de energía, ¿no? Y tu energía es muy fuerte, algo me hizo hacer un cinturón para personas que hacen terapias. Mi esposa hace acupuntura, entonces es el primero que hemos hecho en la historia de la tienda, que tiene muchísimos años. Dice, y a ver cómo salió, pero no sé si están listos. Déjame preguntar, a ver, y le pregunta a la chica, ¿será que tenemos alguno de los cintos que mandé a hacer? Y dice, acabamos de terminar de pintar uno, porque le echan un acrílico arriba. Y yo, wow, qué coincidencia. No, amigos, no existen las coincidencias. y dicen, mira, es muy loco, dice, porque recién lo terminaban ese mismo día y me dice, esto te va a servir muchísimo para tus terapias, para proteger tu energía y que no te afecte la negatividad. Y yo, wow, sí, me lo llevo, ¿cuánto cuesta? No importa, me lo llevo. Y él me mira y me dice, ¿sabes qué? Te lo voy a regalar. No sé por qué, dice, pero te lo voy a regalar, dice. Y se me puso la piel de gallina, fue como que... ¡ah! Pero porque es como les digo, cuando ustedes se entregan a hacer algo, yo justamente parte de ese viaje era para buscar lugares para liberar almas, que luego les voy a contar en el próximo Jenny Live. Y esto fue, wow, esto fue como un imán de energía que amplificó la energía que se estaba haciendo en el ritual en el momento, pero a un porcentaje altísimo. Y yo, increíble, y hasta mis propios meditadores me dijeron luego el día siguiente, estuviste en un lugar con un mineral que puede ser el cobre, que aumentó muchísimo tu energía. Me puse a hacer seminarios para nuestros miembros en Miami TV con el cinto y sintieron la diferencia, o sea, cómo potencializa. Entonces digo, imagínense, bueno, yo porque trabajo con la energía, pero imagínense una persona normal, nada más con que te pongas un brazalete de cobre o algo de cobre, pues ya de por sí estás balanceando tu energía y vas a estar haciendo una diferencia. En el momento que estábamos manejando, mi camaraman le empieza a doler el cuello y me dice, ay, no doy más del cuello. Le digo, a ver, le saco mi collar, se lo pongo, que es de cobre, y a los 10 minutos me dice, toma. No, pero no te dolía el cuello, puedes tenerlo el tiempo que quieras. Me dice, no, es que ya se me fue el dolor. O sea, para el artritis, para personas con artritis, es increíble lo rápido que te desinflama. Pero lo rápido, mi amigo tenía un dolor en un dedo, se puso un anillo como estos, me dice, no me lo vas a creer. Pasó una hora, me dice, ya no me duele el dedo. Digo, sí te lo creo. Entonces me emocionó muchísimo porque, pues sin querer queriendo, terminamos pues con una información súper beneficiosa, creo, para muchas personas. Y lo mejor de todo es que entregan en todo México y internacionalmente. Entonces, si ustedes quisieran su propia tina de cobre o su propia sartén o lo que sea, se lo pueden pedir, se los hacen personalizados. Saben que es algo que está siendo hecho a mano. Están encima comprándole a una familia, no a grandes empresas, y lo tienen en su casa, o sea que cuando salga el programa van a ver la información. Esos lugares, chicos, no son pagos, no son sponsors, solamente lo comparto porque sé que son cosas que funcionan y les pueden ayudar a su salud y a su energía, ¿ok? Entonces no es para nada financiero, sino más que nada para compartir el mensaje, para compartir la información y que se beneficien esas personas que están haciendo un bien y también personas que necesitan que les hagan un bien. A las 3 horas que pasaron, llegaron tarde los de National Geographic, que habían pedido un almuerzo de pescado frito. Y los dueños no querían que nos vayamos. No se vayan, por favor, quédense a almorzar. Y yo como que, no sé si me siento cómoda, como que metiéndome en un almuerzo que no era mío. Y sí, por respeto, pues no nos quedamos, pero bueno, ahí llegaron y empezaron a grabar los de National Geographic, pero fue increíble, fue muy bonito y es un documental del cual me siento muy orgullosa. Espero que lo disfruten cuando salga. Nos veremos en la próxima, amigos, que estén muy bien y espero que hayan disfrutado un poco las anécdotas del viaje. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of the story of the trip. We will see you in the next Journey Live. Have an amazing evening and stay positive, be good, spread love. No se olviden, estén positivos, sonrían y compartan energía y amor. Besitos, buenas noches. Bye, guys.